9 years ago, when I first started my full-time job, my salary was more than $100,000, and yet I was struggling to make a significant progress towards my financial goal. I realized that there was a big mistake in my financial strategy, and that mistake was not automating my finances. I hope you're not making the same mistake, and you can learn from this video how to implement that strategy in your finances. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's go. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Yudi and I'm a senior product manager at a fintech startup. On this channel, we talk about career wellness, personal finance, and self-improvement so that you can live purposeful and fulfilling life. In this video, we are going to talk about the strategies which I implemented about automating my finances, and I hope this will help you to save thousands of dollars and help you reach your financial goals. Let's go. I just want to put a quick disclaimer that I'm not a financial advisor, so please consider this advice as only for education and entertainment purposes so that you don't sue me. Before we get into the details, let's talk about what is automating financing mean. It is simply you telling the software that, hey, do this and do that based on certain rules and preferences and conditions which is aligned towards your budget and your financial goals. And here are some examples. Once you get your paycheck, let's say every 2 weeks, you can tell your bank account that, hey, move $500 to my emergency funds, move $500 to my retirement savings account, or move $500 to my house down payment. Or when the credit card bill is due, make sure that pay so that I don't miss the payment. You basically get to tell the computer that do this on my behalf, but you can only do on certain rules and conditions which I tell you to implement. And that, my friend, is automating financing. All right, let's quickly talk about why you should automate your finances. Well, number one reason is it is going to help you stay disciplined to your budgeting. When you budget something that, hey, I want $500 to my this account, I want $500 to be invested, I want 10% of my income to be invested towards retirement, so and so. Automating that is going to help you do that. It will also help you invest consistently so that you can reach your financial investment goals. It will also help you pay bills on the time, which means that you will not miss a credit card payment, which means you will not have a penalty, which means you will not lose your credit score. Now that I've convinced you that you should automate your finances, make sure to watch till the end of the video where I also talk about a big warning about automating your finances. At this point, you are like, okay, Yuri, I get it that we should automate our finances. Like, what are the next steps? Like, how do we get this automated started? How do we automate our finances? The answer is very, very simple. But before that, you want to set a financial goal and you want to set the budget and you want to have a system in place for you. All right, let's go back in time when I said that I got my job 9 years ago, my first full-time job. I used to get 2 paychecks for a month, which is bi-weekly payments, and both paychecks were getting deposited in my one checking account. I only had one checking account at that time. And so as soon as the money gets deposited every 2 weeks, I would, based on what my needs were at that time, I was living with a roommate. We had to pay rent, utility bills, all of that. So I used to make those payments. Then I had education loan. So I was paying off my education loan. And then I used to manually take some money and put it into my investment accounts. So that was my system. I only had one account and I used to do everything pretty much manually. And when I used to think about savings, I used to have a spreadsheet which I was maintaining that, okay, 5,000 is saved so far and I need to hit like 15,000 before I do something else, and so on. But the new strategy, which is what I started doing it, and I hope you will start implementing it as well, is I opened another savings account, which is also called as emergency fund account. So at that time, my financial goal was that I need to have 6 months of my living expenses saved in this emergency fund account. So here's what I did. I had my bank account, checking account, and then I had savings account. Every time my paycheck was getting deposited, directly deposited from my company, on the same day, within couple hours, I had a rule set up that, hey, every time the money comes in on this day, because I knew which day I would get paid, $1,000, take it from the checking account and put it into this emergency savings account. Nowadays, I actually have a way to automate that even before it gets to your checking account, because you can tell your company that, hey, can you split my paycheck into 2 halves, and 1 half goes into this account, 1 half goes into other account. Yes, it is possible. So what happened is that every midnight when the money used to get deposited, before even I wake up, up, all the transfers have already taken place. So I used to wake up and I used to see my checking accounts like, okay, salary must have got deposited, and here's the money I have left in my checking account, which was my primary account, which I used to do for every other things. Rest all the money has been already allocated. Basically, I never had to do anything manually. Automatically, my emergency funding account was getting deposited every 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, hands free. After some time, when I hit that goal of 15,000 of my emergency funding, 15,000 was my goal at that point of time. I was like, okay, now my next goal is to pay off my education debt as soon as possible. And how did I do that? Every time the paycheck was getting deposited, I had automatic transfer activated that, hey, whatever that $1,000 which was going into emergency saving, take that and pay it off to my education loan. So that way I quickly paid off. I never saw the light of that $1,000 which was first getting to my emergency account. Now it's going to my loan. Similarly, as the years went on, my salary also increased, which means my income increased. I was like, oh, now my loan is paid off, that now I have that extra $1,000 plus my salary is increased. I have another $1,000. What do I do with this? All right, I wanted to pay off my car loan. So my car loan was roughly like $30,000. I was like, okay, I can pay this off within 7-8 months because I have this additional $2,000. What I did, as soon as the money gets deposited, I told the Honda Financial Service, that's where I got my loan. I told Honda loan company that, hey, every day on this date, take $2,000 from my checking accounts and put it towards the principal. Simple. And here's the other thing I did with my partner, Caitlin. At that time, we were engaged and we were thinking about wedding plans and things like that. We actually opened a joint account just to have our savings for wedding preparation and all the wedding, because Indian weddings are expensive. So we spend about $25,000 to $30,000. I'm making a separate video on that topic, so subscribe if you haven't already. I'm not kidding. We have savings account just for our marriage. It's called marriage funds. Now, after getting married, we combined our account and now all of our accounts are joint account. But we did have a marriage account and we were like, okay, our wedding is going to cost us about $20,000 to $25,000 based on our budget. This is how much we want to spend, and we have about a year and a half. We were putting the money in that account, and within 1 year, we were like, okay, we are at 25,000. I could easily predict how much it's gonna take, and we made our preparation based on that. So I never took any debt for getting married. Everything was planned. Automating these systems is going to help you go so far, because you will never incur the lifestyle creep in it. Because a lot of time when you start making more money, you start to see this more money in your checking account. And I know that you will say that, bro, I'm very disciplined. Trust me, I also feel that same thing about myself, that I'm very disciplined, but I was not. Somehow I was just spending the money even though I knew that I had these goals. Automating it helped me transfer all this money to several places. I told my money to go and work for me however I wanted it to work for me, versus I was working for the money, if that makes sense. Similarly, I got very interested in investing. So I had Robinhood account, link in the description. Use my referral code. You will get free stocks. I'll get free stocks, So here's the practice I followed. Every paycheck gets deposited. I want you to deposit $200 into my Robinhood account. That doesn't mean I was investing that $200. I was just putting it into my Robinhood brokerage account. It would stay there, and when the right opportunity comes in, I would buy it. This is very, very important when it comes to investing. Right now, the market is so down, and because of my habit of always transferring that extra money which I wanted to put towards my investments, I have the money sitting down and I'm like, okay, I can average out my stock, which I bought it for higher price. Now I can average it downwards. Or if something which is super cheap, I can invest in it because I have the money lying around and waiting for it to get invested. So get into the habit of automating your system. But before you do that, figure out what are your financial goals. Keep those goals and budget. Budget is very, very important in this whole automation. Okay, now let's really talk about how do you do this. It's really simple. A lot of the banks nowadays will have all of this in your bank account, and you can literally say when you want to transfer to what account and all of that. All of this is probably not going to charge you any fees. Hopefully, if they're charging you, then change your bank account. And for a lot of the utilities like your electricity, your water bill, your trash bill, your internet, everything can be set up to auto pay, which means you will never forget a payment. Everything will just directly get deducted, and even your company will automate to invest into your health savings account, which is called HSA, your retirement investments account, which is that. So everything can be automated. It's not that complicated. The apps which I use for budgeting, I'll talk about it in a separate video, but here's a couple of the apps I use: Every Dollar and Mint and Personal Capital. So all of those apps will be talked about in a separate video, or you can check the description. They will be all mentioned in the description. Okay, let's talk about the warning and disclaimer and caution, because this is very, very important for you to understand. When you automate your finances, be very cautious with something which is varying in nature. Meaning, if you have a habit of spending a lot on your credit card and you don't know how much you have spent, you could get into trouble. Meaning, there was a time where I made a mistake of buying my entire Hawaii trip through my credit card. Well, it wasn't a mistake. I knew that I bought it, and I forgot that I had set to auto pay, which means the Hawaii trip was about $5,000. And I was like, oh, it took the money from my checking account and paid it off. But it did not, it stopped it. It failed that transaction. Why? Because I have set a trigger in my checking account that if my balance goes below this, then do not allow the withdrawal. Yes, you can set those triggers for yourself. Similarly, set the triggers for your credit cards where, hey, if the transaction is above $100, send me a notification, send me a text. All of the credit cards should have this functionality, and you should activate these triggers for yourself. All that to say is that there are bills and utilities which could vary based on the weather. Maybe in the summer you're going to use more air condition, which means your electricity bill will go higher. So make sure that you have settings in place that it never impacts your checking account, and you don't have to incur the penalties that your checking account is below the balance which you're supposed to maintain it. And there's another practice which I follow, which I'll talk about in a separate video, is tracking and analyzing your money every single month so that you understand where your money is going and how it's flowing and where the expenses are and how much you are spending and all of that. So there you have it. To recap, you need to automate your finances so that you don't have to manually keep track of all of this in your brain or on the manual systems. You need to tell your money to go where you want them to go. The biggest thing in this whole system is setting your financial goal and your budget. If you don't do this, the automating is not going to help you save thousands of dollars or even reach to the financial goals you want to reach. So I highly recommend to set the financial goal, whether it's $100 for the books which you want to buy or $100,000 to put the down payment for the house. Whatever it is, I did it for every single big purchase I had. Those were my financial goals. Every single month my budgets was changing, because you have to change. You are making more money, you are incurring more expenses, your life is changes. So budgeting is very, very, very important. I highly believe in it. If you found this video helpful, I actually made another video which is going to help me become a millionaire, those by simple habits. Here's the video. Go check it out. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep smiling and keep hustling. You gotta hustle every single day.